I'll call to order the April 13th meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee. First agenda item, public comment.
Hello.
Hi Donna, how you doing?
Good. Donna Jones. I offered to videotape problems with the current station, and I'd just like some assistance as to a list of what you want videotaped.
Okay.
And I know there's a program and things have been added during meetings, and I'm just like a list to work from.
Videotaping the existing facility.
Right.
Okay.
Like, I know like a truck can't fit in the bay, it's not deep enough, it's not tall enough. Something like we can't hold a meeting with 15 people,
Yeah.
or other things.
What I would suggest is maybe we need to have the chief here to discuss this. Maybe we add it as an agenda item to the next meeting.
Sure. Doesn't have
Does
to be
that-
at a meeting, but sure.
Yeah, or I can reach out to the chief too and maybe put him in touch with you, and if you guys don't connect, we can talk about it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Does that work?
Okay.
Sorry to make it come all the way down here. But yeah, I mean, I think at a high level, it would be the vehicles, the trailer that they're living in. Ron, I don't know if you have anything else off the top of your head, but.
Yeah, I would video the whole mess down there.
The substantial crack in the sidewall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
any of the structural
Cracks,
issues.
mold.
Yeah, I just remember that one specifically.
Yeah.
But I think we should get the chief's input, so maybe, why don't I email him and maybe we'll contact him if we can't.
Even the
Yeah.
outbuildings you wanna
Yeah.
videotape.
Yeah, definitely.
You mean like storage areas off-site, is that what you mean, outbuildings?
I mean, there's some vehicle storage buildings in the back of the
There's
site.
a garage.
Sorry, I've got one guest who says there's no
I guess
audio.
whatever they have on
Trying to-
site would be good too.
We got you now. You came off mute.
All right, thanks, Brian. Brian Beachkowski has joined us.
Oh, hi Brian.
Hello.
So
Yeah.
should I get on the Zoom and actually share my screen? Because that's not working. I don't know what's.
I don't know how I. There we go. You know?
Okay, sorry.
Gotta have the touch on.
I do not have the touch.
I just watch way
That's
too
a
much
few
TV,
ideas,
so I'm
Donna,
good
but
at
using
let me reach out to the chief.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your cell phone number in case I need you in the future? Not to my house, you don't.
No.
Anything else, Donna?
No.
Any comments from Brian? I'm assuming he's the only other one.
You probably
From the public.
know my question?
What's that?
Oh, I get what you mean, the public.
No, it's just if he had any public comment.
Brian, anything you'd like to add? Nope, I'm getting a no.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. We'll move into our agenda items then. So first item, review updated floor plans and exterior views.
So, things have changed a little bit. As you can see, there's nothing there. So this is still what it looks like. But what we've done is put in the landscaping and this up front here, this is gonna be a rain garden. Then we'll have a plaza down here where the flag is. What you can see here is we removed the clear story windows. They're really not needed in terms of daylight harvesting. These doors are 14 feet tall, so they can get the vehicles in there. So with the windows there, And then what we've done is kind of gone around and sort of what we call straightening out the windows with space on the inside as well as the structural grids. We're continuing to simplify the structural grids. If we then walk around the building, this is, all right, so there we go. We kind of come around the front, so you can see what we mean. I think, you know, this canopy is going to get a little wider so it doesn't look so weird with the door. And then as we continue around, so right now we have an air handling unit up on the roof. We are in the process of trying to get that inside the building.
Oh, really?
Yes. And if we can't get it inside the building, we're gonna move it down to this roof.
Looks pretty big to put inside the building.
Yeah. No, actually, you know, we,
The tractor trailer.
yeah, that's just a square.
What goes wrong with it and it's in the building?
They take it apart and take it out.
Okay.
The
Is
other
that a
thing-
long-term maintenance
No, it's-
concern?
I think Matt would probably want it inside the building
Yeah,
anyway.
I was gonna, like, some of the buildings we design now, they prefer to have them inside because they're more accessible.
Mhm.
Okay,
And what we would do is oversize a louver on this sidewall right here. And with the oversized louver, we can blank off what louver is not needed for air. And then if they ever did need to move that whole thing out, they could take the louver out and slide it. I say that as if it's really easy.
You're not the one that has to
But I'm
do
not
it.
the one that has to rig it up and move it.
Better that
So-
than having to take it apart in
Right.
pieces and take it out the regular door.
Right.
Yeah, I think that the upside to putting it inside, it's easier to maintain, but the downside is it obviously eats up square footage.
That'd be in conditioned space too, right?
Right.
So there might be some efficiency gains.
Yeah, so, whenever you're able to, you know, and this is a balance of square footage, right? So you make these big mechanical rooms and everybody says, why is your building so big? So you make the building smaller and these things end up outside. There is less wear and tear on the units when they're inside the building. So even though, you know, manufacturers will tell you this is designed for an outdoor unit, you know what that means, right? Birds go and they nest in the area and things like that. So if we can get it inside the building, I think it would be better, and we're trying to do that right now.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I agree, having it inside the building is ideal, but to me, if the trade-off is you're adding too much square footage and that's gonna push the cost up versus some increased maintenance, then it probably doesn't make sense.
And in which case, we'd still get it off the roof, because when we go to the design review board, I think on May 2nd, we go to the design review board, we're not gonna wanna see that from the street. So we'll drop it back here.
Maybe they have a smaller unit. that
but even
works.
with a sloped roof, pitched roofs, would you see it?
Yeah, see how that, we have quote unquote, I hate saying this, fake pitched roofs. So they're not, you know, these full expanded pitched roofs, it's only like kind of a half that comes up, and then there's a flat roof.
So the height of that, you're figuring is gonna be above
Yeah.
the peak of the,
Yeah, because that's only
Front roof.
That's only a few feet tall,
yeah,
from the roof to the peak of the.
okay, yeah.
That
Yeah,
shed.
it's tough to tell on that, but
Yeah.
it does look like it's higher.
If it's solar,
If it went
then
inside,
What's that?
if it goes inside, does it eat out usable square footage, or does it go in a peak roof area, or
No,
do
so
they add square footage? to
Right
the
now,
center?
we had a mechanical room
Yeah,
that the thing doesn't fit in.
okay.
So what we're doing is massaging space again inside the building to see if we can't find some space to make it work. The mechanical engineers are also looking at breaking that into a couple of units instead of just one. So that it can, yeah, so that we can get it to fit. So it's all, like, that's design development, right? We're trying to develop the best.
Well, plus you have to figure your duct runs in and out of it too.
Correct.
Which, you know, just being on the roof and looking at that is one thing, but then you've got everything that comes out below it.
Yep. And as we continue this process, we're also looking for ways to save money. So as we come around the back of the building, you know, we do have two doors back here on the south side of the building. And one thought is maybe we get rid of that canopy. I haven't spoken to the chief yet. But if we're able to get rid of that canopy, they can then keep the doors open when they wanna open the doors in the summertime on the north side of the building, where they won't be getting direct sunlight. And then, you know, maybe that goes away. So, because the canopies are basically protecting the open bays from rainwater. They wouldn't be open in the winter anyway.
What kind of a cost savings is that? Is it significant or enough to be noticed?
Oh, you'll see in a few minutes that we're picking up every nickel we can.
And the pennies.
And the pennies.
Great.
So although you're right, it's a few $1,000s, it's, you know,
Everything counts.
every bit counts. So if we save 10,000 here or 8,000 here,
I'm sorry, I was typing, what are we
we get it.
focused on right now?
This canopy right here,
Yeah,
like maybe we don't need that one.
okay.
It's in the back of the building and it's just 2 of the 6 doors. So,
Just the one in the rear.
yep, we would keep the ones in the front.
Okay,
Because these are the ones that they could open up when the weather allows them to open that up, turn all the AC and the heating off, and just have it open, and then it's protected by the front wind and the rain. So that is those pieces, and I think these are the floor plans. So we just had a meeting yesterday, and one of the things that we decided to do is get rid of this room, right? We had a water sprinkler room. This is where the water from the street comes into the building. It's got a bunch of check valves on it, and it ties into your fire protection system. So there's also some pressure gauges and such on it. And one thing the chief was thinking was, well, why don't we get rid of the door hardware, door frame, the wall itself. We can take this fuel storage room and move it up against this exterior wall and just leave this open space. And this way here, you know, the fire department staff can see the water entry room was there. There's no fire pump, so it doesn't need to be rated, so technically we don't need a room. And that actually gives a little bit more space for our egress door out the front.
And they can use the setup for training of the new recruits.
Yep. Yep. So that was one way we're trying to save some money. The other thing is that these 4 rooms, the little hallway here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to have a ceiling. We need the ceilings in the restrooms and the decon rooms, but all the rest of these rooms here are not gonna have a ceiling, and neither are these spaces, or that space, or any of these spaces. So again, we're just trying to, we're gonna paint the structure, you know, it'll look and taste and feel like a fire station, and so what you won't have is any ceilings in those spaces.
But the structure's up like 22 feet
Yeah.
in those rooms,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
So,
I didn't do
I didn't do it.
I certainly didn't do it.
it. Shut it off. Yep,
turned off.
Microsoft update.
You sound like my
Always at
IT
the worst
department.
time.
Yeah, right.
You'll see this in a little bit of the notes, but we also had a good discussion about wired card access readers for card access control versus just a lock set that has a keypad on it. So there would always be a key override, but if you want to get through quickly, you just type in, you know, like if I had an employee number of 1, 2, 3, 4, I'd be able to get through. So everybody can have their own passcode. The public wouldn't know what they are. But the point of that is that it's less expensive to do a keypad lock set than it is to have a full-blown access control. We are gonna keep the access control on some of these doors for 2 reasons. Number one, we don't want the public to get in there or sitting around trying to guess the code. But the other piece is we wanna be able to track who came in when, right? So if somebody comes in, you know that they're there. So this is a work in progress. We're going around every door again.
Yeah, we debated
So,
doors
this-
in a fair amount of detail yesterday.
This might sound silly, but the keypads versus the like the fob access, we used to have them at my office. I've seen them even at my daycare, that over time with people coming and going, the pads wear out to the point where you just can't even see the numbers anymore. Is the cost saving significant enough to allow for future replacements of keypads when they wear out? Because I just see that being a maintenance item.
Yes.
Okay, good. Then
We're
that's
talking a few $100 versus a few $1,000.
perfect.
And so, but the other thing is, they have some touch pads.
Yeah.
Where it's, what I mean to say is some of them are touch pads, other than are actual buttons. We would recommend the buttons.
Oh, okay.
Because
Not-
even if they do, like the one wears out on the button, you kinda know
You
it's
still
1, 2, 3,
push,
4,
yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the ones with like the plastic or rubber covering on the front. Of it.
Yeah, so we would get more of a tactile one,
Okay.
which are more handicap compliant. And so that's basically the first floor. So as you can see here, the first floor, as we've talked about for a while now, it's basically your apparatus bay, the code required decontamination and storage space and turnout gear. The other side is essentially a lobby, a trauma room, a triage room rather, for anybody who comes in that's hurt. The 2 code required toilets for the community, the training classroom, and then basically storage and electrical. So, it's a pretty efficient first floor and
And the elevator.
and there's not much more we can do to it to squeeze out any further space, while at the same time just keeping everything that needs to be there. So.
Yeah, it looks pretty tight.
Yeah.
If we then go to the second floor, it's the same thing, that's just the roof over the training room. But as you can see here, when you come up to the top of the stairs, this is our MDF and BDA, and we were actually talking yesterday about getting rid of this room. So first of all, when we are constructing the project, there's gonna be a company that comes in to do a test to see if we need the bidirectional amplification system. What that means is if the station is ever on fire, they can radio one another and talk to one another without the walls getting in the way of the signal. So, just so you know, bidirectional amplifier is only needed if the building's on fire and they're trying to use their emergency radios to talk to one another. So we're gonna see if that's needed, and even if it's not needed, the engineers confirmed today after Monday's discussion that if we just rate the MDF room, we can get rid of these doors and get rid of those in that wall.
Can we just get a written guarantee it'll never catch fire?
Well, if we get the written guarantee it never
No, it's from
catches
you.
fire, we can get rid of the VDA system.
I know, that's
Well,
why
we
I'm
haven't-
asking.
We haven't gotten rid of it yet.
I'm being wise, but you get my point.
I made that joke once and I found out that there was a fire station in Maine that burned down. And my mistake then was I laughed. 'Cause I thought it was a joke, I thought somebody was making a joke, but it happens.
Concord had a fire truck catch fire in the fire station.
I don't know.
That's, I think that's happened at least twice. Not necessarily in Concord, but.
So essentially this right here, this piece of program, this is all of your administrative space and your stair and your elevator to get up there. This space here is your fitness space. And it's pretty tight, but we get everything that they need to get in there for their standards and their credits and, keeping their fitness up to where it needs to be. Across the front of the building, we have our sleeping quarters, and then 2 more down here, and another one. And this whole row here is laundry, restrooms, again, sleeping quarters, more restrooms, and this is all the number of rooms you need per fixture, per code. So what we've done is we've broken up, as we talked about before, rather than having the double single rooms, or the double rooms, for instance, we made each one of them single rooms, and now what you basically have is a gender neutral fire station. So you can hire as many male or female staff as you want, because it won't matter.
And that's why there's 4 restrooms?
So then what we have is you would need 2 fixtures for the female and 2 fixtures, and however many fixtures for the males. And so if we, again, provide 4 separate individual rooms, then they're gender neutral,
Got it.
anybody can use them, and we've got the toilet counts we need.
So you're either doing two rooms with 2 fixtures each, or the 4 rooms like you have shown?
Yeah, something along those lines, yep. So this is the mechanical room I talked about. We have a little bit of an open space here. So what we're trying to do is maybe push this wall over a little bit somehow. And figure out the training mezzanine, the open space to get to the training mezzanine, and then get those units into that mechanical room. So that's a work in progress. So we're not, obviously not taking away any space from the rest of the building in order to accomplish that mechanical situation we talked about. Then down here, what we've done is just created one open space for the kitchen, the dining, and the day room. However this wall slides, we want to make sure we've got, space for 9 and for 9, and for the full staff in the kitchen. And again, that's pretty much it in terms of the plans.
We want to talk about some things we cut out from this floor yesterday?
Yeah, so I've got a long list of stuff that we'd like to go through and just talk about that. So that's the next piece. When it says, I think there was a
Yeah.
note down there about what have we changed.
Oh, right. we'll put it on
Discuss
the
a list
agenda.
of project savings identified.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and what Blythe was mentioning is that Monday, we took the time to literally go room by room. And if it's not needed, it's no longer in the project. So those are the nickels and dimes we're talking about.
Right down to reusing 4 televisions and 4 wall brackets, and Matt has the actual phones, so we're not gonna have to purchase handsets. And that spreadsheet was redlined for each thing that was not necessary.
Yep.
You have to leave at 7, right? That's a hard stop, or even earlier than
Are
7?
you going to advisory?
You are.
I know that. Are you going at 7? Are you planning to attend?
After this.
I might be able to be I could probably be a few minutes late if.
I just want to make sure we kind of hit on everything. And,
Yeah.
and if we have a list that you distribute and we need to talk about at the next
I know.
meeting, we can come back.
I'll cover it for you if you have to be a couple minutes late. I'll drop
Thank
in
you,
7
Brian.
and let them know where you are.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I think
Thank
we're gonna
you.
be fine. I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
They always start late anyway.
Is there anything we have to vote on?
No.
Yes.
Minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes and the trailer.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know if we were going to vote on that without the chief here.
Oh, good point. I did not, yeah, I forgot that.
Somebody's very nice.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
Okay.
It seems like we should probably get his vote.
Yeah, I think I'm confident that you will, but I appreciate why you want to wait.
Yeah. Especially because we can talk about the community meeting too. My thought on
Yep.
that
Okay.
as well. So now that we've touched on every bullet point, let's go back in order. All right, so that's floor plans and exterior views. Review report of the sewer manhole tank and pump chamber inspection.
Right, so we do not have a report yet, however, the tanks should be replaced. I think the company that came down there wrote an email, sent
Yeah,
an
they
email
got
to
that.
everybody. You have it.
Oh, you issued that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Well, I
I
included in
What-
in the packet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay
Yeah, I
Hoffman.
saw something.
Maybe
so-
it did come
yeah.
through, I just don't
Yeah,
remember.
so the gist is that the tanks were old enough that the company that was looking into them did not get, they pumped them out and cleaned them out, but they didn't get into the tank and do an inspection.
Right.
The other concern is that we're raising the grades, so one of the ways to avoid, or minimize, I should say, to minimize the rock removal, is we're raising the grades, and when we do that, there's gonna be an additional 3 feet of cover over those tanks. And so the thinking there was, let's get a new tank so we know it's designed to take that amount of weight sitting on top of
The
it.
One
pump
new
chambers
tank or two?
already has 3 feet of fill over it, but it is an H20 tank. They looked at the pump chamber, the septic tank, and the sewer manhole that was back there, so they did not give it a good a good grade.
So those are the two structures that will be replaced based on the inspection. And then the tight tank that's back there was already gonna be swapped out because it's too small right now, and it's also old. And the reason we're doing the tight tank is with the way that this project works in terms of septic system, we can't have an oil water separator. We have to have a tight tank. So it's not like we're separating the oil from the water in order for it to go into a sewer treatment plant. You have a septic system. So,
So that means that has to be periodically pumped out.
yeah. And that's the way Matt does it now, and when we talked about sizing of it, and we were replacing it anyway, we're just getting a little bit bigger of a tank, so it doesn't have to be pumped as much.
How often does it get pumped now?
He had sent an email, I don't remember what he said, but it basically has to do, there's a little monitor in there.
Yeah.
That,
Are we talking once a year, once every
I'm sure he
6
used to do it at
months?
Public Works as well.
yeah, it's not once a year, it's more than once a year.
More frequent.
Yeah. I'd be, if I had to guess, I'd say 8 or 9 times a year.
Okay. Okay.
Will it need to be even with a bigger?
It would just be
tank?
fewer times, like maybe once every other month or something.
That's still a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
There won't be any efficiency, we'll use this, and it will just be.
Right.
a bigger
It
tank.
is what it is.
But what I mean is the system that's currently there is working as it should, it's just the tanks are old and deteriorated up.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm thinking we need a more formal report than an email, right? Just, to
Yeah,
have some
no,
sort of
he is-
record of
Matt,
why we
the
took out two
company-
septic tanks.
The company is gonna write a report, and our engineer is as well.
Yeah, that's just
So
all we
you-
had for this meeting.
Right.
Yeah,
You'll
I
have
didn't
to
know if
write it.
this question ever got answered, that if more formal, my vote would be that we should probably have a formal
Yeah.
report.
Yep.
Actually, I think we have to go back and tell them that, because I think we left it as this email may be fine, but we want them to write a report.
Yeah, it
But
just
they're
seems like
letting
this
it-
email might get lost somewhere along the way.
But I think
I
our,
think people are gonna wanna see
You have
that
your
too.
people gonna
That's
do
a-
yours
that's a cost.
Right.
right, so what I've asked our engineer to do is take that email from the inspection company, because they were here with the inspection company, and incorporate that into their report, so you end up with a report that has all the.
Okay, yeah, I mean, if we have a report from an engineer, I think
Right.
that's probably fine
Right,
too.
because the thing
Okay.
is our engineer's doing this, and Matt, saved some dough, having the company come out there. They
Right.
called him and said, we're not even gonna do what we said we were gonna do, because it's not worth it. And then in terms of, we're not gonna write a report, we're gonna send an email, and I said, this is fine, just send it all.
Yeah, I think if we have some sort of letter from an engineer or the inspection agency, something,
If you don't
More
need both,
formal
then we
than
can
this.
leave it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't want you to spend any more money on
Sure.
the
Right.
inspection company.
yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lesser bill. They had planned on going into the tanks, and
Yeah.
they didn't even do that.
Yeah, okay. Discuss results of walkthrough, the Greenbelt with the town building and planning staff. I know Blake mentioned this to me yesterday, it sounds like we
Yep.
got good news.
Yeah.
Very successful.
Yep.
You remember all the plants that used to come around the world here? Which basically means it used to look like this, and it used to start here and go all the way around the site. So what we're left with is we're gonna go to the zoning board to get a variance not to build inside the existing stormwater easement, which legally we don't think we can anyway, because it's on the deed that we don't build anything in there. But then what we're gonna do is comply with the green belt until we get to an area here, which we have flagged on the site. And the reason for that is all of this is now ledge, and we actually have to be removing rock to put the green belt in, and there's existing vegetation all over here, so.
Right.
So that hatched area shows a very dense vegetation, and it's being described as existing natural vegetative screening. And when we were out there with everybody, we all agreed that ripping out that existing vegetation or trying to supplement it on a pile of ledge isn't really gonna work all that well. So when we meet with the planning board, by the regulations, they have the authority to allow existing vegetation to count as the green belt. So we're gonna request that they do that. And if that's okay with them, you get the septic system right here as well, but we're gonna come all the way around almost to where the existing trailer is, and not do anything, because that's all existing vegetated area. Then we've got some pretty good trees, robust trees here along neighbor's property line. So rather than do the 2 rows, we're gonna provide 1 row. And the species of this is going to be, they're not gonna get any bigger than about 5 feet wide and 6 or 8 feet tall. And the reason we wanna do that is we don't want them to crowd these trees and kill anything. The other thing is that you'll see that these species here, and they're shown sort of grown out, these are gonna get quite large, right? So these will be about 12 feet or taller as they mature. The way the bylaw is written, they need to be 6 feet tall the day they're planted. So that's a pretty mature plant. And then they're just gonna grow over time. They're gonna kind of grow into one another. And so the decision was, let's just use 1 row of a different type of plant where we have existing trees right behind them. So technically, we do have the 2 rows. It's just 1 row is being made up of mature deciduous trees that are there now.
And not going all the way to the street because we
We're
don't
gonna-
wanna impact the sightline.
We're gonna
Correct.
start 40 feet off of the,
Yep.
Yeah.
off of the road.
So 40 feet from there to there.
Yep.
And then this one, it's the actual dimensions boundary on the property deed that says do not
Yeah, for the
put
easement.
anything in there.
So we cut out a lot of plantings.
Yeah.
And so this was reviewed obviously with Rich and
Rich
Bob
and
Bullock.
Bob, right.
Both-
They were there.
Yeah, but I mean, we obviously still need formal approval from.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
From the planning board.
Correct. So when we go in front of the planning board, the task at hand will be, you know, we've reviewed this with Rich, we reviewed this with Bob, with the chief, with Blythe, and this is our recommendation from a, you know, the position of the landscape architect. She was also there with her staff, and we marked it all up.
Yeah. And when is that planning meeting? Well, that's the
Formal one.
27th,
It's gonna
right?
be the real formal one in June.
Oh, in June.
We're gonna
Okay.
submit in May, and then have a hearing or a meeting with them in June.
Zoning is the 27th.
Zoning is the 27th.
There's still a couple trees in the parking spaces there?
Yes, so there is still that ordinance, or excuse me, bylaw requirement to do that. Yep.
But it's a heck of a lot less planting than it was,
For sure.
if they're okay with it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
How much does a 6 foot tall tree go for?
What'd you say, like 600,
It's gonna be
650?
expensive.
Yeah, we were in the $80,000 range when we started, so now we're a lot less than that.
Good.
It does make sense, you would wanna avoid cutting down trees to plant trees, so I'm glad that they're receptive.
Yeah. And
Well, we hope that, I mean, the staff was, whether the board will be is what we need to sort out.
My point is I kind of just, people are upset about the cost, and it'd be nice if they saw what the zoning has done to costs of town projects that the
Yep.
town voted to put in place.
Right.
Any other questions on that?
No, happy to save one.
Yeah, oh, it was great, it was a good meeting.
Ron was grinning from ear to ear.
I can make that.
The weather was good, so.
Yes, it was a nice day.
It's a win-win all around.
Okay, discuss list of project savings identified to date.
So, you may have seen this before. Typical fire station, you walk in any fire station in the state, you're gonna find a watch room. It doesn't exist in this fire station. You're gonna find locker rooms for men and women, doesn't exist in the fire station. There's typically a conference room so folks can get together. We've incorporated that into shared space, so it does not have a conference room. The water entry room I just talked about, almost every building in the state of Massachusetts has a water entry room. We will not. Most fire stations have a training tower, whether it's attached or not attached to the building. We've got a training stair that we're actually using for our second means of egress, so we don't have, we removed one fire stair. There are typically separate offices for officers. We have an open office approach for the entire staff except for the chief and assistant chief. We then have the bidirectional amplifier closet I just talked about. You have one at the police station, we will not have a room like that in our building. And we removed one fire pole, so they're always talking about time, right? The timing to get from the sleeping quarters, the living space down, and the way that we've designed the building, we only have the one fire pole. That's this rooms itself that have been removed, so spatial efficiencies, we've combined offices. We have the open plan for the kitchen, dining, and day room. You'll notice when we look at those plans, we have 6 bays, but 2 of them are shorter than the other 4. And that's because we didn't, those trucks happen to be a little bit smaller, so we reduced the depth of those bays. We combined, typically you have a tool room where you can lock up all the repair tools. There's a workshop where you make your repairs to equipment, to store that equipment. And then the SCBA fill room, it's literally all one space. So when people say, yeah, but you still have the square footage, we say correct, but what we don't have is doors, door hardware, light switches, lighting fixtures that are all separate, and heating, all those different heating elements. It's basically one open room. The single bunk rooms that I talked about rather than the male-female double rooms. We then have consolidated all the administrative space onto one level. So what you don't need is sort of an administrator on 2 floors, because all of your administrative space is on the same level. The lobby that comes into the building is shared, so we avoided multiple vestibules, right? So the training room is the size of the training room. If it had its own entrance, you would need a vestibule, and then you'd have a vestibule coming into the lobby. So the way we've designed the building, you only have one vestibule. The office and workstations have been combined rather than separated. And then we reduced the overall net to gross factor. Remember that from way back when? A standard inside of a building is 30 to 35%. You have a school project coming up, the MSBA is 40%. We're at 22%. So when we look at the design and we say things are tight, that's what tight means, right? Is that net to gross has gone down. Sustainability and energy efficiencies. You can see that we reduced the amount of windows and strategically placed them so we're not affecting the daylight harvesting, which we have to do per mass saves, and they've also reviewed the plans and they like what they're seeing. We reduced the amount of the underground stormwater and drainage systems, raising the grades, using those rain gardens in the front of the building. We are at the point right now where we think we're not gonna have to have any underground detention. So we're reusing the septic, obviously, and we are below the DEP requirements. So in other words, the DEP, if we just use their formula, we would have a larger septic system that we need to put in. But using the actual water calculations, which is the way the town did it when they put that in, that's why it's smaller, but that's also why it complies, right? So that was very good on the town part.
But that's we're just reusing like the leaching field, right? Because obviously the septic tanks are being replaced.
Correct, but it's the leaching field that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
So that's the expensive piece
Yeah.
of it. Again, we raised the grades of the building to minimize the rock removal. We removed the smoke exhaust from the training stair, and we'll just use portable fans in the training window. We removed the elevator venting. You can do it 2 ways, and so we've got a temperature control unit to make sure the elevator machine room doesn't heat up. And then by working with all the town departments, such as the site walk we just talked about, we've been minimizing cost and features and future maintenance. Matt was a big integral piece of that. Bob has been, so is Peter, the electrical inspector. And then we decided the other day, on Monday rather, that all the fixtures will be manual, so we won't be wiring all the fixtures. And these are faucets and things like that that can have a meter on them without having any wiring to them. And then the space by space reductions, this will get sent to you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, send me a copy.
Yeah, but what we wanted to do for tonight's purposes is, these are all the things that were in the station when we got our SD estimates, right? So everything you see there in red is being removed. So we literally went through every space and just said if it's not needed, it's not gonna be provided. What you see here, like some of the blue highlights, and when we send this, we'll just describe how this works. So the red, it's either being changed or it's gone. The blue are things that are gonna be less money when we're done. What that means is like fiberglass triple pane windows. So that's in the price right now, but the fact of the matter is we can't find a triple pane window that meets the large missile impact requirements for the wind loads of Norfolk. And so because of that, we're gonna get better performing windows in terms of the impact, but they're less money because they're not triple pane. And we're actually finding some that don't perform as well as the triple pane, but close, you know? The other thing that we wanted to point out here is that the radiant heating panels, these are, so two things are happening with these. Number one, they're there for redundancy. So if you ever have a VRF unit that breaks down, this will make sure the building doesn't freeze, so your sprinkler systems won't freeze in a certain area. But at the same time, our engineers are also working with the comment that Mass Saves gave us, which was maybe if we upsize the VRF system, we can get rid of all of this redundancy. Because if we upsize the VRF system, then the likelihood of the VRF system not working goes away. So, but it's one of those things where, I'll use the training room as an example, if that VRF unit breaks and you can't replace it for a couple of days, because it's gonna take a couple of days for that building to cool down, right, to the point where you have the possibility of a sprinkler freezing. That would be an area where you'd say, all right, we wanna keep the radiant. But some of these other areas, like the bunk rooms, for instance, if the unit broke in there, you could just make sure you keep the door open, and you've upsized the one in the hallway, you know? So that's the kind of exercise that we're going through right now, to try to save. Again, just take a look at the cost benefit analysis.
And that was gonna be one of my, I think you answered one of my questions that I was gonna have, is that
Yeah.
these are all things since schematic design,
Yeah,
not since
No.
feasibility that
Mm-mm.
have
no,
already.
this
that were
is
already
since
incorporated.
Monday.
We did that Monday, yeah.
It was a long afternoon.
So then some of these, like some of these systems, we gotta talk to the chief about too, because there's just a couple of different ways to do these things. And I'm not gonna bore you with every room, but what you can see here is we've literally gone through every single room.
No, let's just send it to me, I'll send it around to everyone.
Yeah, and we've taken stuff off, so.
Like, we had a Murphy bed in the chief's office in case he had to, you know, hang in for overnight or a long issue. He'll just go use a bunk room. You know, we don't need to put it in. Maybe the wall space is there with an extra stud or something, so something could be put up there someday in the future, but for now, no, take it out.
So every grouping, so we've got the admin areas, the infrastructure areas, the operations, the staff living areas, and the public areas, and they were all marked up. So we'll send it along. Another thing that's gonna save a significant, I would think a significant amount of money, is we had acoustic separations between all of the bunk rooms. We had acoustic separations between all of the offices. And what the chief has said is, let's not do that. Let's just put up a typical wall, put some bat insulation, some acoustic insulation in those walls. But because most of those doors are undercut anyway, you know, the idea is we don't need the gasketing, we don't need soundproof. In other words, he doesn't need a soundproof room. If there needs to be a conversation that's that delicate, they can take it outside or just go for a drive in the car. You know, they don't have to soundproof the fire station, so. So, you know, it's just those types of things that when you look at other stations around the state, they have these things. But, you know, I think it's the kind of creative thinking on the part of the chief and the staff. And the staff is also part of these meetings, so this isn't being done.
It's not utilized.
It's not in the
No,
vacuum,
you
yeah.
know, and some of these things we really don't have answers to right now, so they're highlighted in different colors. Because it's things like Steve just said, you know, we wanna go back and talk with the chief. So,
Yeah, be great to have this on the website, or even show this at the next community meeting, or,
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and
I know the website's still a little in progress, but
right, so our goal is to have this
yeah, definitely
list,
this list.
and then this list right here, when I say see attached, you have the working sheets, right? But for the next community meeting or something like that, we're gonna have a laundry list of all the things that we're taking
Yeah,
out of the
definitely.
project.
And so even this list right here, this is all sense schematic, this was all,
Mhm.
okay.
Well, these
Well,
things.
some of them, like the
Right.
washroom and stuff was.
That's
already-
cumulative, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the rooms, there's two rooms, the water entry room and the bi-direction, and the BDA room, those two
Those are-
have gone away, that's new.
Yep.
A lot of this stuff, if not all of this stuff, was done before SD.
Yeah.
And so that's reflected in the current estimate. And then I would say 50% of this stuff had already also been done.
But it's the room by room, really drilling down into exactly what do we need
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yep.
Can
I
we
think
get rid of a
we
wall?
just- Yeah, we just need to.
Can we reorder it in terms of
Yeah.
by timing, by time? We did
that
these
might-
first, we did these
Yeah,
second.
I think that might be a little bit more, I don't wanna give anybody the impression that this is all happened. I mean, these are all great reductions, but just that they know that.
Do it by phase, maybe.
they
Yeah,
all
and this,
gonna come
just
down.
so everybody understands, this isn't a reaction to anything that's been said or any, this is what we do.
Yeah.
And so there's gonna be more. So as we go, as we finish design development and we go into construction documents and we start getting into the details, some things are added, right? Because we'll realize that we need to do something in terms of detailing an exterior wall or a foundation but at the same time, some things will go away. Like one of the things that is not on this list that you haven't seen, that we believe is gonna happen when we have our consultant meetings later on in this week, is we're gonna continue to reduce columns. So, that's, every time you reduce a column, one could argue, well, you're taking a column away, so the beam, instead of spanning from A to B, now goes A to C, right? Got rid of the column, so the beam gets heavier. It does, but you just removed all that foundation and rebar and concrete too. So, that's the kind of thing where the steel may be a trade-off, but the
Well,
savings is.
Yeah, you're only picking one beam instead of two beams,
Exactly,
so you're right, I mean, it's an added weight, but it's
yeah.
kind of a.
So, and those types of things normally take place during CDs, so we're kind of doing that, getting a jump start on it now, continuing to develop every system as we go.
Do you think there's anything gained as far as like the community engagement meetings, putting some sort of an estimated cost savings with each phase to show, like what it could have been versus what we've taken out of it to try and save money for the town?
Yeah, just because of this whole state of the economy right now
All
with
the-
everything, it's difficult to put a number to
Okay.
these, and we wanna remain conservative, I think,
Sure.
and it's not like we wanna look like a hero when the bids come in. We don't wanna look like a dope when the bids come in.
Right.
And say, that we've been out here promising savings, but what we didn't anticipate, God knows what, at the time of bid.
But like the
Crazy
plantings,
market.
that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
There used to be X number and now there's Y. I mean, that's a little easier than trying to price out light fixtures.
Yeah, I
Or
think, yeah, but to
inches of
that,
wall.
to that
We'll
point, I
wanna
think
move
it's
it,
more
right?
meaningful.
The contingency,
Right.
we'll wanna move that.
Some of it maybe, but not all of it.
Yeah,
You'd always qualify anything with an approximately
I was gonna
X,
say, yeah, maybe it's an order of magnitude,
yeah.
not a hard number, it's.
Or even a-
but maybe not in
or
everything.
upper
Like
lower
Blythe
bound
says, the
range.
planting should be pretty
Yeah, the
straightforward.
planting is definitely straightforward.
Yeah,
Um,
I get your point that like we could present a number now and then all of a sudden some material gets way more expensive and now that savings is gone.
Exactly.
But I think there probably is some merit, like this list looks good, but people might not understand like how much some of these things cost. Like,
Mhm.
are we taking out, I don't know, something that costs $50?
Right, I'm just thinking of the person who
Well,
is upset.
the answer to that is
with the
yes.
cost.
When we say we're chasing
Right.
pennies, nickels,
Yeah,
and
no,
dimes,
no, I
like,
get it.
that's true.
Yeah.
Because they all add up.
Yeah, sure, understood.
Yeah.
So,
And we're gonna be doing that throughout the job, I mean, when,
Yeah.
you know, provided the project gets approved and we go into construction, any change order comes up, we're not just gonna rubber stamp things, we're going to look at it and we're going to try and whittle it down, so that's gonna be an ongoing mantra for the whole job.
Yeah. Okay, I think this list is a great starting point, though, that just shows, you know, hey, I mean, this is what we hired, you know, Durham, Whittier, and Vertex to do, is
Yeah.
continually sharpen this building up, so.
It'd be huge if the project does come in under budget, then you go back, and then you apply and you say, yeah, look how much we saved.
You know, a long time ago,
Yeah.
we used the term needs-based building. It hasn't come up, at least in what I remember, in a while, but that is, you know, this kind of shows that we are making it exactly that. It's
yeah, that's
just a
exactly what it
needs-based
is, yeah.
building. It's not any frills.
It's great.
I got a question on that bay one, the reduced depth of bays. That's not the custom trucks, right? The custom ordered trucks?
No, so these, these 4 bays are the, you know, required depth. But these right here, the chief is thinking, so currently, right now, you've got 2 ambulances and 2 squads, right? So that fits pretty well. In the future, if you end up with 3 ambulances, you still have a space for a squad. And then the other squad would go in here, right? So that's the thinking, is that, you know, because you do have the ladder truck and you do have, you know, a couple of tank trucks and what we didn't need was this. And so rather than say, well, you know, we need 6 bays and then we'll just use the rest for storage, we got rid of it, right? So instead of that coming across here, it steps back.
So sizing wasn't necessarily to exactly the custom trucks they have, it's to
Correct.
what an actual fire
Yeah.
truck normal
Mhm.
ordered.
Yeah,
Right,
like
so
right
we-
now, we order the ambulances with a compartment removed from what's typical, because we can't fit the typical ambulance in our station. We won't have to special order those things in the future.
Correct. Because these
Or
are-
trucks that are short, or, seriously.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then that must cost a ton of money too, because
Because
I
it's
know
custom.
those trucks are expensive anyway.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else on that topic? Okay, thanks, Ron, that's good. Review status of retaining the commissioning agent.
Yep. We have a boilerplate RFP that we use. I tailored that to the project with input from Ron and some of the, you know, the OPR and the basis of design and the schematic information we have now. That's gone out, the HVAC has gone out to 5 firms, Fitzmyer and Tachi, WSP, Collier Engineering, Sparhawk Group, and RFS Engineering. They're due back, their proposals are due back to me on the 27th of April. So that should be in time for our next meeting. At least we can take a look and see what the order of magnitude is. I'll go through and make sure that they've responded the way they should be, but
Yeah,
in
I mean-
some way or form, we've, you know, Vertex, not necessarily me, but people in Vertex have worked with these guys. I've worked with Fitzmyer and Tachi, WSP, and RFS before, so I know Ron knows Sparhawk, and we had another project up in Newbury that we had Sparhawk on, and Collier's has been out there for a while too, so I sent it to 5.
Okay, good.
And then
Mechanical.
I'm gonna follow up that with the building envelope, which will be sent to a different group. Right now I'm thinking BEA, SGH, CBI, and Thrive. It's 3 IBE.
Okay.
But I wanted to focus on the HVAC first because of the connection and the input we want with Mass Save and Eversource. And have them attend remotely those meetings.
And are there any others other than HVAC and building envelope, or is that pretty much it for commissioning?
That's what we decided to start with, I think.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you could commission anything. I mean,
I
you know,
guess
you
what
can
is
commission
typically,
electrical,
yeah,
you
what's
can commission
typically
plumbing, but
done?
generally, I think every project strives to do HVAC commissioning. And then you decide whether you want to do, building commissioning or some kind of isolated commissioning, depending on what the construction is. I know at MSBA, you know, those projects, they have that as, you know, it's mandatory, and they supply that. On the non-MSBA, you make that choice. Because it does, there is some money involved. We carried 50 for both, so 50 for each, so 100 in the budget.
All right, so those are due on the 27th, so
27th,
for the
yeah.
next meeting, they might not be vetted, but we'll at least
I'll
have the
have,
numbers.
yeah, I'll have a
Yeah.
list, yeah,
Okay.
coming in at 3 o'clock.
So preparation for April 27th community meeting. I mentioned this to Blythe. I had a thought, and I'm curious what everybody else's thought is on it. My fear is that if we have the meeting on the 27th, we're gonna get a similar turnout like we've had the last couple times. So my thought was, we have an opportunity to make a committee update at town meeting. And so my thought was, let's reschedule the community meeting from the 27th to sometime shortly after town meeting. When I make the presentation at town meeting, I can say, our next community meeting is next week, 2 weeks. I don't wanna make it a month after, but if we can be within the next week or two, at least we've got an audience of a couple hundred people there hearing that, rather than posting something on Facebook that I'm sure people are looking at, but it doesn't seem to be resonating with many people. So I don't know what everybody's opinion is on that.
I think it's potentially a good way to get a larger turnout.
Yeah, I don't know if it will or not, but more people will hear it, we'll know more people hear it at least.
Well, if we stick to our every other week meeting, we would meet the 27th, and then we'd meet the 11th, which is the day after town meeting.
Yeah, that, I mean, I think we need to give people a little more time than that.
So then you would go to the 25th, if you're going every other week.
Yeah.
We can
I-
change it, I'm just,
Yeah, I mean, I was, at the earliest I would think is the 18th.
yeah,
I don't know if people are open to doing it on an off week.
the working group's
Yeah.
meeting regularly, so that's.
Yeah, I mean, you
I'm fine
can,
with that.
Yeah, and
and
then,
you can just decide to do 2 in a row instead of,
Yeah, we could then.
Yeah, we
do
pretty
the
much
25th
got
or-
Wednesdays pegged for Norfolk, so.
which turned into Mondays and.
yeah, I mean.
Come on, once.
I guess my
Beautiful
preference
day.
would be to try and make it as close to town meeting as possible without it being the next day. So that,
Well, worst case, and I probably shouldn't even say this, if town meeting went an extra night, it would be the 17th. You have a second time to remind people it's the next night.
okay, well, so that's a good point. But the committee updates are early enough in the night that it's probably, I'll get a chance to speak before the 17th.
Oh, yeah, I was just saying the if we were, yes, on the 10th, absolutely. The worst case, if we have to go, if there's town meeting, the following week, you had another, I'm sure the moderator would allow you to stand up and say, hey, just remember, tomorrow night, see you all at the, wherever, and I will see if I can book the library.
So why don't you see if they can do the 18th or the 25th?
Yep,
And maybe, once we confirm that, send it out.
Yep.
Just because some of the group's not here. Hey, we discussed our preference would be the 18th, it's an off week, can everybody do the 18th?
and since you weren't here, we signed you up to do the presentation.
Yeah, and whether we wanna, do double meetings or just skip the one on the 25th, but I guess let's make sure it's available on the 18th.
Right. Yep. I'll check with the library tomorrow.
Okay. I think,
So we'll still meet on the 27th, we'll just do other stuff?
yeah, and I think we can talk about what we wanna talk about at town meeting,
Yep.
so.
Do you wanna stick with the library, or, I think that room may be booked, so we
I think
probably
the
have to.
library's good, I think the library's fine.
All right,
I
well,
would say either the library or the fire station again, but the library might be a little more.
for the 27th. Are we gonna meet on the 27th anyway?
Committee
Committee
meeting,
meeting,
not
yeah.
a community meeting.
Right, that's my question.
Not at the library.
I have the library books, we can either try to stay there, or probably we're gonna have this room again.
I would say,
Okay,
let's
Yeah.
do it here,
just forget about the library,
All right.
yeah.
all right.
So, and now when is the design development submission?
In June.
It's in June, okay.
Yeah.
So we might have, I mean, we won't be at DD, but we'll at least have maybe a little further along floor plans to present if we kick it to the 18th. I don't,
Yeah,
just my thought is, I think we might stand a chance of reaching a few more people if we have it shortly after town meeting, so.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, good, thank you. All right, I think that's all our discussion items unless anybody else has anything else they wanna bring up.
Nope.
Okay. So action items, consider course of action regarding the temporary trailer. I would suggest that we postpone this action item until the 27th.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do we need to make a motion at
No.
this point? Okay. And then, please consider approval of the minutes.
All right. Put up a lot of them. We've reviewed the March 2nd, March 15th, March 29th, and March 30th
There you go. It's the bottom, at the bottom there.
meeting minutes. And yeah, they're all good. Can I ask for a motion to approve the minutes from March 2nd, 15th, 29th, and 30th, 2022 regular meetings?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passes, thank you. All right, anything else anyone wants to discuss?
I
before
do,
we
just I
adjourn?
brought the sign-off sheet for the code
Oh,
of conduct, so if
yeah.
you could both sign off on that, that'd be great. Thank you. Awesome.
Can I borrow your pen?
Absolutely. Thank you. And then just a motion to adjourn.
Yep. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Efficient meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.